Yeah, I was going to say we should never have taught Sand to think. Just a deeply evil thing to do.
All right, fellas, let's do this nonsense.
Oh, why am I doing this? Oh, that don't smell good.
I think it's delicious.
It smells like what I imagine lupus would smell like.
It does not taste bad. It just smells bad.
A little cough syrupy. I think that's the cherry.
Yeah.
I can take that, though.
It's more cream soda adjacent than I recall, but it's
like cream soda if you took out the cream soda part and replaced it with cherry.
Less vanilla, more cherry.
That's not great.
I don't mind it.
Cherry vanilla work pretty well together. I wonder if you can mix them.
I gotta drink the other 3 of these damn things now.
I got 12. You're getting off light.
You can make barbecue glaze with them, apparently.
Absolutely.
But somebody said that about Moxie, and I don't trust them.
I feel like if you're taking advice on barbecue glaze from New England, then mistakes have already been made.
Now, Moxie baked beans, we could have a conversation about.
Who hurt you?
Yeah, how did Boston get a reputation for beans? Like, do they grow beans anywhere near Boston?
Oh, I get to talk about Albion Seed again.
Oh my God.
Incredible. Incredible. Baked beans.
George.
The sound of defeat in that sigh from Ed.
I'm going to just enjoy my beverage.
Baked beans are, and I'm really sorry I'm hoarse tonight. We'll talk about why later. Baked beans are a stylized representation of the food that was the sort of staple entrees of East Anglia, which is the first wave of settlers, of course, the famed Pilgrims and Puritans that settled into New England. So Boston baked beans are basically, kind of like a stew that a vegetable stew that 17th century East Anglians were eating. So yeah.
Like classically, it's like salt pork and beans and some kind of.
I mean, there's a more direct reason why it's Boston. It's because it requires molasses.
Gotcha.
That the molasses part is an adaptation, but the fact that it happened to molasses baked beans as opposed to molasses, I don't know, pork or whatever, molasses beef roast or something, whatever dish you want to make up, is because the beans were something that were a East Anglian thing.
Yeah, because historically, Boston ended up being an exporter of rum because of an importation of sugar in certain disreputable, historically disreputable trading arrangements. And one of the side effects is fermented molasses. Hence the whole lol, Boston got crushed by a molasses flood type of thing. Though that was, to be fair, after certain things had calmed down.
That's just one of the most horrific disasters I've ever read about.
Yes, it's terrifying. But more terrifying than that is that there are 2 definitions of Boston baked beans. And the other is a weird little hard candy shell around a peanut, and I don't know who wants that.
Oh, those things are good. I enjoy those.
Really?
Yeah. No, they're for sure.
Oh.
Yeah.
I've never even heard of this.
We've found the one person who is keeping that industry afloat.
There's a similar snack in Greece with it's that, but they're coated in sesame seeds as well, and those are absolute bangers. It may not just
now
be Greece.
I can
That's the
get
only place
there.
I've ever eaten them.
Now I'm with you because you're doing at least something. These are just here's a bunch of sugar. Also, I assume given the region, those are probably honey coated and not molasses coated, and I think that is a much better flavor profile overall.
Very fair. Very fair.
Do you like Boston baked bean though?
Basically, what I'm getting here is that we fixed. We can do anything in this country, including fixing British food.
This is Normal Men, a podcast from 4 men who are clinging desperately to normalcy in an era when that's asking a bit too much. I'm George in Charlotte.
This is Proctor Malone in Washington, D.C.
I'm low-tax speedrun enjoyer in outer Florida.
I'm Ed from Boston.
The Normal Men are committed to bringing you both analysis of current events and not trying to completely depress you with the sheer volume of insanity that's going on in the world. So we are going to give you 2 updates and 1 fresh news item 10 minutes each. We're not going to be here for super long talking about some of this because it gets pretty dark. And yeah, we're going to start with that. And then we're going to move on to much lighter fare, both literally and figuratively. So
literally have a timer going, so we're going to commit to this.
Oh yeah, we're committing to this bit. So if you're not interested in news stuff, you can jump to the timestamps that are noted in the show notes, and that will help you avoid some of the unpleasantness that we're going to have to discuss.
Yeah. So in the interest of anchoring this in time, we thought that we would talk very briefly about the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk was a YouTuber and conservative firebrand who was shot through the neck by a single bullet in Utah this week. People have other opinions also about Charlie Kirk. We will not on this show tonight be delving deep into the other opinions about Charlie Kirk. And since we are still missing many of the pieces about the mechanics of the assassination of Charlie Kirk, such as why the assassin shot him, we will be limiting our speculation in that realm as well.
That said, there is a lot that we do know. We know that the shooter came from a gun-loving and MAGA-adjacent family, MAGA enthusiast family. We know that he was very online.
We know this.
Yeah, we know this for a few different reasons, including what he wrote on some of the casings of the bullets that were in the gun that he used to assassinate Kirk, as well as other evidence that's been retrieved. These two factors are a recipe for creating the kind of mindset that you would go out and shoot another human being from roughly 175 yards through the carotid artery with a rifle. And I would be shocked if this is the last one of these we see.
You take into account, and I'm sure at some later date we will bring in somebody who is more qualified than any of us to discuss the, I get to use the word semiotics of what we know to date. These are spaces that this stuff just boils out of. I have a feeling it is more ideological than some people want it to be, and less ideological than others want it to be. And we're probably going to see a lot of ping-ponging back and forth as various parties attempt to stake out their claim. I think the best thing we can say right now is don't believe everything you read.
Yeah, we've already seen plenty of reporting on this that has been shoddy and eventually had to have been retracted. I would advise people to just stand back and wait.
One thing that is crystal clear at this point is that there are forces within at least the federal law enforcement community that really, really want to hang this on the trans community in some way. We've gotten reports both from Spencer Cox, who the governor of Utah, who presumably got it from the feds who are running the investigation, and reporting that has been attributed to Kash Patel and to Donald Trump statements that people connected to the shooter, Tyler Robinson, are transgender. There hasn't been a whole lot of substantiation of this so far. I think that it's plausible, but it's not proven, despite the fact that it's been presented as fact. This is something that someone is trying to turn this into a pogrom against vulnerable communities. And that we are institutionally very much against.
Yep.
I think we can also say, as we did in the wake of the assassination of United Healthcare's CEO earlier on in this show's run, that we are very committed against the idea that assassinations are a particularly useful political tool. In the current context, especially, but as a general thing, going out and killing people is not the solution. The right has not adopted that perspective, despite how hard they claim to have in the wake of Kirk's murder, assassination, however you want to describe it.
Well, it's also worth noting that they only did that when the identity of the shooter became a little more concrete.
As a general thing, regardless of what ideology this shooter was motivated by, this is not the solution.
Nope.
And the fact that one of the right's leading voices, and I think it's fair to call Charlie Kirk one of the leading voices on the right, the fact that he was assassinated by someone who sure looks like representing right-wing views is a good reason.
I don't know if we want to go that far. Like literally, like we genuinely do not know.
Okay.
Let me
put it this way. Let me put it this way. I'll be more careful in how I phrase it because fair enough, Ed. Someone that emerged from a clear right-wing cultural milieu. We don't know what their motivations were, but we don't know what his motivations were, but his family was far right, very gun oriented. Mm-hmm. He spent a lot of time around spaces that were highly reactionary. Fair enough. Whether he actually did it to advance those ideologies is an open question. But the fact that he emerged from a milieu that is adjacent to Kirk's milieu and really part of the same milieu, is one of the reasons that folks like us take one look at this sort of thing and go, "This is really bad. It's really bad." Yeah, we're opposed to that sort of thing.
The one caution I would make, and so for background for those who do not know, is I used to study some of this stuff. There are people who are much more up on it than I am, and people who are much more thoroughly expert than I am, so I'm being very careful with what I say. The immediate jump to right-wing assumptions based on the information that we got early was instructive and probably wrong. Not to say that it couldn't be accidentally right, but one of the things that we need to come to grips with in this country and more globally is that it's really hard to tell the difference in a lot of cases between a right-wing fringe organization and gamers. It's the problem is that's not, like, you laugh and I laugh because I feel bad, but like distinguishing between reactionary politics and just what people do in Discords is getting increasingly difficult in a lot of these spaces, to the point where like the memes are not necessarily unique to one or the other, and that makes it really complicated when you start trying to think about like what might be solutions and what the future might hold for a lot of this stuff. I have my own suspicions, but also at the same time, like, the news media has done a sterling job of not making me trust a single word that they say about any of this stuff either way. This is one where, you know, I think we need to be extremely careful generally of going to the mat, which I will note that the right wing is not being nearly so careful about.
Yeah, I would want, the one thing I would append to that is that, again, the milieu of family and hometown, etc., that this appears to have emerged from is one that embraces guns as something that's entirely normalized. You know, you should be spending lots of time around them. We have images of this young man with various military weapons in his hands, as just a guy from Utah. So I do think, regardless of his specific ideological motivations, there is something to the fact that the right has been eaten by someone that emerged from the vision of society they're advancing.
It definitely lowers it lowers the activation energy for fucked up stuff.
Yep, exactly right. That's a good way to put it. And I think we can tie it off here and just say maybe a conversation for another episode. There does appear to be some regret being expressed by certain members of the right, and I think that's interesting because I've never seen that before along these lines. So we won't spend too much more time on Charlie Kirk, but
no, we won't because you have 15 seconds left.
And hey, I was already wrapping it up. Look at that, baby. Look at this. I didn't have a time running. Natural gifts. So we'll transition on to the next hot topic du jour. Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook.
As you may recall, Lisa Cook is the Federal Reserve Governor that Trump purported to have fired because allegedly she applied for mortgages on two simultaneous properties, claiming them both as her primary residence.
Which is a fairly ticky-tack thing that, surprise, doesn't seem like it happened.
Well, we'll get to that. I guess the first thing to say is that she is now protected by a district court order barring her firing, and that was actually a stepped up from after a temporary restraining order. It was ramped up to a full injunction. that gives her a pretty large degree of protection from retaliation by the Trump administration and from removal by the Trump administration. It can be overruled by the DC Circuit. It's unlikely to be, because right now the panel that's going to get it is a friendly panel for Dr. Cook, for Governor Cook. Of course, SCOTUS can also overrule it. We walked through how that would probably work in a prior episode. So this is not protection, but her initial court victory was substantial. And now it appears she's gotten validation in terms of the reporting from Reuters on Friday and from NBC News on Saturday that the loan documents that she represented to the lender who was financing the second mortgage listed it as a vacation home. They did not list it as a primary residence. And that's a big deal, because if that's what she represented to the lender, then nothing's going on here. And if that's true, it would appear that Pulte substantially made up the entire claim he has represented. The entire thing is just invented.
He was lying his ass off.
Can I gasp in shock now, or should I wait?
Let's wait until we actually have a court ruling on what is going on here, or at least like someone has the original documents, but there's more reporting on the original documents. But like, if you were a betting person, you would go from, I don't know, whatever percentage chance to like 90% that she did nothing wrong whatsoever. This is all complete pretense.
So one thing I think is plausible here is that she provided her lender with the information that this was a vacation home, but that through a clerical error, which is what Lisa Cook has said that this is the whole time, or through lender malfeasance, which is also a pretty plausible thing here, the loan documents were still prepared as if this was going to be a primary residence. This is something that you do see sometimes lenders do unscrupulously, or sometimes just through error, is treat loans that should be in one category as if they're in another category when they prepare these complicated mortgage documents. That's ultimately mostly on the loan originator. That's not so much on Lisa Cook if she gave him all the information. She's not the expert party here. She's not the one who is legally charged with preparing these documents correctly. That's why you have so much due diligence in the mortgage process throughout.
And there's a good reason that banks would do that, right? And again, we're not alleging that that was the case here. It's one possible explanation. There are other explanations. But if you are originating what's called a conforming mortgage, so think like the standard 30-year interest rate is fixed. You make the same payment every month for 360 months, and then you own the home free and clear. Your payment doesn't change. You can deduct the interest against it if you itemize your taxes. What people think of when they think of a mortgage loan.
Unless you're in Florida and you have to deal with our insane insurance market, then your payment goes up every month.
Well, no, but that's the thing. That payment going up is a separate thing from the principal and interest payment that you're paying on the mortgage loan itself, which is fixed under a traditional mortgage. There are other kinds of mortgages, but these days, something like 85% by value, and number of U.S. mortgages, or it might even be higher than that. It's between 80 and 90% are what's called a conforming mortgage. A conforming mortgage is very rarely held by the lender for 30 years. What happens almost without exception is it gets sold to Fannie and Freddie and gets also Ginnie Mae, but it gets sold to a government sponsored entity. It gets securitized into mortgage-backed securities, and those are bought by outside investors who now are betting on what's called pure interest rate risk. There's no worry about default because it's insured by this entity that is essentially, well, right now is the U.S. government. Maybe not if they successfully IPO them. That's a whole other conversation. Well, we were not going to go down that road with this short block of time. But all of this creates a very, very incentivized cost of capital for a conforming mortgage relative to other mortgages. Because if you're another mortgage and you can't just pass it on to investors through the securitized mortgage-backed securities market, then you have to fund it with your own capital, and that gets expensive because banks have to put a lot of equity capital up and yada, yada, yada. Again, we're not going to go down that road too far. So there are good reasons that her lender may have done this, or they just didn't tick the right box and whoops.
Yeah. If you've at some point applied for a mortgage, I don't know if it's a certainty, but both times I bought a house, there have been errors in the paperwork that we found. And, I didn't think that we were particularly trying to select on idiots to work with, but there were errors because it's big, long documents and generated from sometimes sketchy records that have been compiled over years and years. And mistakes happen. I think that in the case of Cook's Mortgage, for what it's worth, these were going to be conforming loans either way. At least that's what the coverage indicated. So that wouldn't be a lender motivation here. Once you promised an interest rate to your potential client, there's a certain amount of incentive to see that through. As George said earlier, I think if you're handicapping this, the chances that Cook did anything seriously wrong went down significantly. Now, one point of hedging on this is that the district court decision protecting Lisa Cook from firing did not actually turn on whether or not she did anything wrong. What the district court said is that you can't fire her based on things that she did unconnected to her job duties prior to her term as a Federal Reserve governor. So it wouldn't matter if she was absolutely as morally and legally culpable as she could possibly be for this stuff, or if she was scot-free, clean and clear. The district court decision protects her equivalently either way.
At this stage, of course, if the district court gets smacked down and it goes up through the Court of Appeals, up to SCOTUS, they say, actually, she can be fired. Then at that point, we may have the defense go back to the district court and say, look, there's no wrongdoing here. We have the documents to prove it. So she can't be fired for this either. And then we just repeat the whole process and it goes back up to the Supreme Court. That's a totally plausible way that this continues to work itself out.
Right. Now, the Trump administration has taken the position that this is an unreviewable decision by courts, that this is squarely within the prerogative of the executive branch, and they can make this determination for any reason or for no reason, and courts can't touch it.
And they wrote that down in crayon, so I care.
I mean, they wrote that down in crayon and they handed it to the Circuit Court of the District of Columbia.
Oh, I know.
So,
I've been watching. It's fascinating.
As we near the end of our 10-minute block for this, we have our own timing issue. But the timing issue is that there is a Federal Reserve Board of Governors meeting that starts on Tuesday, at which Lisa Cook's vote is important.
No, sorry, it's not important.
Am I wrong about that? Sorry.
Yes, you're wrong about that. There is not a sufficient majority of the FOMC to vote for a 50 basis point cut. So they're going to cut 25 basis points. That's it. That's done. Powell came out at Jackson Hole a few weeks ago and said, we're cutting. I mean, he didn't literally say this, but as the resident criminologist, he said, yes, we're cutting 25 basis points. That's it.
He has very expressive eyebrows.
Yeah. The only people on the FOMC, or that could be on the FOMC by Wednesday's meeting that would vote for a 50 basis point cut, in my opinion, are Bauman and Mirren. No one else on the FOMC would support it. Waller, you could maybe make the case for, but that's only 3 votes on the FOMC. It's nowhere near enough to overturn the current majority. The rest of the FOMC will be happy to do 25 basis points. 50 basis points will get discussed, but I don't think they'll have seen sufficient evidence for it. And then the question will be, how do they signal for the next meeting? And there's only so much they're ever going to do to signal directly. They can buy themselves plenty of wiggle room. So yes, hypothetically, if they removed, if the DC circuit doesn't affirm the district court, or if it gets up to SCOTUS by Wednesday, both of which strike me as unlikely, but I don't know, whatever, I have no idea, then it's possible that at the September meeting, there could be a one vote swing in terms of how someone was willing to vote. But also, I just want to say, Dr. Cook signaled in her last public remarks before this blew up that she was very open to a 25 basis point cut. She would support a 25 basis point cut at this meeting. She may support a 50 basis point cut. I have no idea at this point, given how the data has evolved, but I very strongly doubt it. So in terms of what happens with interest rates, I don't think this actually, what's going on in the courts, matters for this particular meeting.
So last week we talked a lot about the arrest by immigration authorities of Korean workers at the Hyundai plant in Georgia. Those workers have now been released back to Korea, which is good, and are talking about the conditions under which they were held, which is not good.
Those conditions were not good?
The conditions were not great. They've complained of things like their hands were chained to their waist so that they couldn't take a drink of water with their hands. They had to bend over and lick the water to drink. If we're wondering if they're holding a grudge, the answer appears to be yes, they are holding a grudge.
I refuse to believe that Koreans would hold a grudge.
it's an inscrutable culture, and really they have unusual reactions to being held prisoner and chained up.
It's an ancient culture. It violates the sacred principle in Korea of don't chain my hands and feet together so that I have to lick water up.
It turns out when the guards are constantly making like side of the eyes dragged out gestures at you, you tend to get really mad about that, which look,
Jeez.
I mean, and yeah,
I didn't hear that one.
Oh, that happened. Yes.
I didn't know it happened, but I was saying when you said it, I was sitting there thinking, oh, I bet people did that too.
Yep. They fully did.
So this was just not a great way to treat people who are in your country by invitation. Not a great way to treat people who are in your country, period, but especially not a great way to treat people who you would like to be in your country, doing economically valuable things.
Yeah, this might be a top 10 dumbest thing that we have seen out of this pack of absolute morons. And like, that list has gotten really, really crowded.
Remind me never to invite Proctor to my house for a party.
Also, like, South Korea is not only an incredibly important economic partner for the United States. If you're interested in semiconductors, for instance, Google SK Hynix. If you
Samsung.
Yes, if you have a TV, I am looking at you at this recording on a Samsung screen right now. If you want, I don't know, any ship not built in China, pretty much any ship not built in China, you're probably going to get it from Korea. Not 100%, but pretty close. Big numbers.
Every computer monitor you have used in the last 10 years probably uses a Korean panel.
Yes. Also, one of the most important U.S. military allies. They're probably up there with Canada in terms of their importance in the geostrategic priorities that this country has claimed to have. Not just the Trump administration's claimed to have, but a number of administrations dating back 75 years now.
Yeah, like nobody knows that South Korea does everything, but they do. And it's absolutely mind-blowing. Like, this is a topic for smarter, more educated people than me, but like, they are also arming like a shocking amount of Europe at this point, right? Like they have, we have learned how to make really good tanks. Hey, Poland, do you want a lot of them?
To which the Poles would ask, can we use them on the Russians?
The answer so far will surprise you. But like, it's just wild how they have tremendous industrial capacity and tremendous research capacity. Like outside of TSMC, I'm pretty sure like Samsung's further along than Intel is.
Oh yeah,
as far as I know.
No, definitely.
Like they're like a node or a node and a half ahead in terms of process technology for like semiconductors, and it's just like, cool. Let's just go piss them off for no reason other than the fact that our racists have to be racistly.
Is Samsung the number 2 fab these days?
I think so, but George
behind
might
TSMC
know better.
In terms of
number 2 in what?
Yeah, I was going to say, because the volume is different from quality, right? If you want to, I don't know, combine them somehow, I think they're probably number 2. SMIC might be number 3 at this point. I don't think they're not caught up to Samsung yet, I don't think, but they're certainly ahead of Intel. And they're certainly behind TSMC, and I think they're ahead of everybody in China, which would make them number 2.
Yeah, Samsung is at roughly 3 nanometers. TSMC is in the 2 nanometer space. Basically, smaller, better.
Yeah.
Smaller make phone and graphics card work for our caveman audience. It boggles the mind that you would fuck this up that badly.
Yeah.
The other thing about Korea is that there is a large and well-integrated Korean American diaspora that has been here for several generations. And politically, they're potentially a potent force. It's not exactly clear how this is going to play long term, but you're talking about people's uncles and cousins here. If they elect to hold a grudge, that might be something that they remember come voting time.
It's also interesting too that Koreans fall firmly in I don't have the latest polling data from Koreans specifically, but they fall firmly into the broad demographic of Democratic Party leaning voters who shifted somewhat away. The degree to which is sort of an open question from Democrats in the last election. Probably mostly because of inflation, but possibly for other reasons as well. And this is a giant kick in the teeth to that demographic. One of several that we've seen from the Trump administration over the past 9 months or so. It's like, again, all stick, no carrot. It's like they're trying to punish people for voting for them, especially in those swingier demographics from the perspective of the last election. Really unbelievable stuff. I don't know what to make of it.
First the car dealers, then the entire Korean diaspora. Who will they offend next?
The entire Cuban diaspora, the entire Venezuelan diaspora.
Oh, you've got a list.
Yeah.
You should send that over. They'll probably appreciate it.
Yeah, make a list.
Stephen Miller's already got it.
I've made the point on the show in the past. No one despises Trump voters more than Donald Trump.
Yes.
And I respect that.
Yes.
He's nothing if not consistent.
So we'll see how that all plays out diplomatically, but for the time being, work on the plant has been suspended entirely, and the vibes in Korea are shifting rapidly away from, oh, sure, let's invest a bunch in the United States. At some point, that's going to translate into real steel not going to the ground, real concrete not going to the ground, real jobs not emerging. And Georgia just got handed a 9-figure economic hit over this. I would say, I think is probably a fair way to put it, either through delays or outright cancellations of, tertiary projects, etc. So yeah, great work, everybody.
And how do they vote?
This is going to surprise you, but very narrowly for the current president of the United States. So yeah.
Sorry, I've had a day.
You and me both, pal.
A thing that's a little hard to long range here is how much of this is going to be mediated through institutional response versus how much of this is going to be mediated through individual response. You can have corporations take positions on whether or not they're still going to invest in the United States. Like LG can do whatever it wants, Hyundai can do whatever it wants as an institution. But at some point, it becomes very difficult to staff projects with Korean nationals if those Korean nationals have significant concerns about being arrested if they come to this country. And that operates a little bit independently from the top level game where you're trying to persuade the decision makers in the big chairs that it's okay to do this, to where you have actual operational problems because people are no longer willing to take risks that a year previous they wouldn't have thought of as risky at all. They would have thought of as being kind of a pain in the butt to come to America.
You mean dudes in Seoul are not rushing to sign up and go staff this plant now?
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of countries that you can do economic development in where there are significant security risks, and until recently, we weren't one of them.
Yeah,
you pay a premium if you want skilled people to go to places where they're going to have a dude with an AK guarding their house.
Believe it or not, Korea is not exactly how it's presented on Squid Game. And there aren't that many people signing up for the kind of risks that are now just part of doing business, apparently, in the United States. So yeah, good luck to anybody that was hoping to, for instance, have a $26 billion Hyundai steel plant in their state. Looking at you, Louisiana.
But they told me he was good at business.
So we promised you guys some up news this week, and we have some, which is that one of the normal men is now a normal cyborg. Ed has recently undergone a medical procedure whereby his previously poor vision has become acute as an eagle, and we're pretty excited about it.
But you're not that far off.
So Ed, what'd you get done, man?
Sorry, I'm now 2 Cheerwines deep, so... So I have had hilarious glasses for my entire life. For those of you who speak eye, -10 in each eye and then a little astigmatism for fun. I've always had 1/4 inch thick glasses. That's not a joke. I have them over there. They're literally 6 millimeters at the edge. And if you care about rounding, you are probably me. But yeah, so I went in thinking about LASIK, and then the doctor laughed at me and said, no, you cannot get LASIK. And then the doctor said, you are a prime candidate for ICLs. And then I said the only intelligent question, which is, what's an ICL? And this is where the Cyborg conversation gets a little weird, because they're technically, I don't know if they count. Because does it count when they take they call it a collagen polymer. So there's plastics that are not collagen in there. They fold it all up and jam it inside your eyeball. And then they unfold it inside your eyeball. And then suddenly you can see real good now. Is kind of like the layman's definition of it.
So basically, they unfolded a contact lens that is made of partially biological materials and partially non-biological materials inside of your eyeball. Yeah. And it just stays there. Yeah. Forever. Yeah. That's cool.
Unless I get cataracts, and then they sort of scoop it out along with the rest of it. This is kind of like halfway to cataract surgery, because I actually have never had major surgery of any kind, so this was really weird. The closest thing was like I broke my leg in college. So, folks, it's really weird when they flood your entire vision with like blue light, because for reasons that will become obvious in a second. And then suddenly you see a dull red sort of in the outside of your vision, and you realize that's the laser cutting a hole in it. It's pretty weird.
Don't love that idea.
It honestly, like, so one, they give you the good drugs, but also it didn't hurt at all. It was mildly uncomfortable that they kept flooding my eye with anesthetic. And I mean, just like straight up just hosing it down the entire time, because they have like I don't know what they call it when it's an eye, but the thing to hold it open, like it's in Clockwork Orange. And yeah, it was.
Is that still a speculum? I feel like it might still be.
I don't know. And
an oculum?
We'll go with that.
Who said Latin was a dead language?
If you use two, it's a binoculum. And they do use two, so you've got that. But yeah, it's the weirdest experience of my life, because like now I know what the inside of my eyeball looks like in a really, really piercing way.
By the way, a speculum is the thing they use on women at the OBGYN.
That's why I didn't want to use that term. Thanks, George.
Here to help.
But
all right, I just looked it up. It is a speculum. There are optical speculums and there are vaginal speculums.
Oh, are there multiple types? Oh, Google lied to me.
I mean, turn off AI mode, dude. No, weirdest experience of my life, because they have to do it under blue light. And then, as mentioned, the dull red of the laser cutting a hole, though it's only a 3 millimeter hole, which is why I had the surgery last Thursday. It's Sunday now. I've been fine for 2 days. And then they just take that folded up little lens, slide it on in. And I don't know how they do this, but I'm watching through the over bright blue light, I'm watching the world like shift and get weird, because they're unfolding the plastic lens inside my eye. And there was a PA who was constantly talking me through it. This might hurt a little. It didn't. They had the drugs, but she was like, this is going to be a lot of pressure for a minute. And then I realized later that was because I did not feel any pressure. That was when they were unfolding it inside my eyeball.
God,
which was weird. Then they just sort of mess it around. They wiggle it into place. I don't know how. Regular contact lenses are self-aligning. Maybe this is too. I don't know. And then you get a blast of yellow because, and I didn't ask. I'm going to ask at my post-op. I'll follow up. I think that cured the glue. Like, I think there's got to be glue on that lens. And I think going to yellow light probably activates the glue. So it hasn't moved. My lovely wife accidentally elbowed me in the eye in her sleep last night, and it didn't go flying. So I think I'm okay. But yeah, weirdest experience of my life. And 6 hours later, I could see. That was weird.
I do have a question, though. Listeners can't see this because we're not now and hopefully never will be a video podcast, but you're wearing glasses right now. So
yes, because I'm very vain. And as a ginger, I don't have enough eyebrows.
So you're just going to keep wearing dummy glasses as an aesthetic thing?
Yes.
So this is like the LeBron post-game conference glasses. Here.
I have now bought so these were from so let me back up. I do a lot of video stuff for work, and it offends my own vanity to like look at myself without glasses because I've worn glasses for 34 years and my eyes have kind of done the caveman thing.
It's big residual self-image vibes there.
Definitely.
Yeah.
But also just like look, that doesn't look quite right. So, sorry for the audio
You guys can't
listeners.
see this, but Ed does look very naked without his glasses.
He does. It's more red stuff, honestly.
The term is default Skyrim face.
I fully support you and your gender affirming care, Ed.
Thank you. But the nice thing, do you know how much prescription sunglasses cost? When you have a prescription that is as comical as mine.
I do not.
$1 million.
$140.
Oh, okay. Close.
And that's buying like the budget ones online. And so being able to go buy a bunch of really stupid glasses for like $10 to $15 each has been really fun.
Well, that's pretty cool, man.
No side effects. I know some people have asked about this on Blue Sky and stuff, but like absolutely no side effects worth noting. No dry eye. That's actually one of the big selling points of this over LASIK, where they cut the flap. I think, Proctor, didn't you do?
Yeah, I did
Yeah.
LASIK probably 15 years ago now.
Did you have any dry eye or anything like that when you had yours?
Yeah, I had to keep kind of, lubricating it for some years after, and it's still dry. My eyes still get dry some of the time.
Yeah. This doesn't do that, which is wild. That was the thing that actually sold me on it, because like there is a certain hesitance to stuffing a piece of plastic inside your eyeball when you don't have cataracts.
Were you a contact wearer prior to this ever? Or?
I did once.
Okay. Just like literally one time? Yeah, okay.
Because I also really, really hate like the idea of touching my eye. I got contacts in, couldn't get them out. Tried a second time to get them in. Nope, I was done. But that has actually been the genuinely worst part of this, is I have to do 20 eye drops a day for the next 3 weeks. And that's a lot of eye drops. The alternative is, two of them are 2 different antibiotics, so I'm gonna finish that carefully.
Yeah, you want to stay moist and bacteria free if you can. So
that's good life advice.
Generally.
Yeah.
So how good is your vision now?
At least 20/20, but it's weird. I had my day after post-op, and each of my eyes is dead zero at least. It was dead zero, within 24 hours after the surgery, and that is like a floor, right? It could get better, it might not. The weird thing is your brain takes a little while. And I don't know if you had something similar when you did LASIK, Proctor. My eyes are currently not focusing at the same point, which is really weird. Like, I look at something about 5-6 feet away and I can see double vision. And because I do enough stuff with cameras and other nonsense, it's like a 1/4 degree off. And I assume that will just like sort itself out over time, but it is really weird in the interim. It's not even enough to like stop from driving. Like I can see perfectly fine. I just like might need to take a second to read something.
You got the hardware upgrade, but the software is still kind of catching up.
Oh yeah, software is just like, what did you do? But good so far.
It really is such a good example of the age of miracles we live in terms of some of the healthcare technology that is out there and really pretty accessible at this point. Obviously, that sort of major surgery is going to require non-trivial financial resources, but
it does, but it's less than you think.
Right, exactly. GLP-1s are another example we've talked about recently. Obviously, mRNA vaccines are another one. We're not going to talk about all the bad stuff in that space right now because we're trying to stay light here. All sorts of different cancer treatments. It's unbelievable what we can do to fix problems these days that were existential and, just unsolvable. Not even 15 years ago.
Yeah. I mean, like 15 years ago, they would have just been like, LASIK? Lol, no. Do you want PRK? Do you want to burn through the entire top layer of your eye? That was the offer made to me when I was like 23. And I was like, I'm good. This was remarkably non-invasive. Little bit of panic early on because it's like, ow. And then it's mostly because I kind of got punched in the eye a bunch because like they're literally unfolding things inside your eye. It's kind of, the muscles are kind of getting beat up. But that was over in 7-8 hours. Seeing wasn't great, but also some of that was the drugs. Honestly, my biggest complaint right now is they give you a drug before the surgery and then afterwards called Diamox, which it's used for a bunch of things, but one of them is maintaining interocular pressure. Presumably so when they make the cut, it doesn't go splurting. Do you know what it has a side effect of? Some of you do because you read my Blue Sky, but it makes carbon dioxide taste awful.
That's weird, man.
Yeah.
Super weird.
It's really weird, which is why it wore off just in time for our Cheerwine summit.
So we needed to get you like some flat Cheerwine or something.
Yeah, I was like thinking, do I have to like crack it open and leave it out overnight like my grandmother used to do?
with all her beverages?
Like she would crack a caffeine-free Diet Pepsi. Maybe that's where I get it. Not caffeine-free though. And leave it out overnight. So she could drink it in the morning.
That's wild.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's weird.
I never asked. Yeah, not the cheapest thing in the world. LASIK at this place was 4K. This was 8K. They had very, very exciting 0% financing in ways that I went down a rabbit hole we don't need to go down today on exactly how that company makes money.
You get to throw your flex hours at it, though, right?
If you have any. I've not always made the best decisions in my life, Raptor.
Next week on Normal Men, we'll do our financial advisor segment. But
Can we find Ed an account?
I'm not going to be involved in that one for liability
nope.
reasons.
George will be he'll be at a farm upstate.
Cool. All right. We can do something else for C Block. Or we can do
I don't know
this.
if you can talk that much, to be honest.
What
You
are we
sound,
not? Are we not doing
rough?
Are we not doing theatrical grass diving for C Block?
Listen to George.
We can
He
do
can
it.
barely talk.
I'm up for it.
Why? So why are you hoarse, George?
So last night, my Major League Soccer squad set the record for consecutive wins in MLS, which is a very big deal for me personally because I have adopted this team as one of the only things I care about outside of work and family and friends. And
this podcast, George.
I consider this podcast work, sir. How dare you belittle my labor? How dare you, sir? It's all fun and games for you, huh?
All right, calm down.
Yes.
Calm down, Keith Olbermann.
So this is a big moment, not just for Charlotte FC, but also within the annals of MLS history.
It genuinely is. So MLS is also, how do I put this? Chaotic. It is one of the most difficult leagues in professional sports anywhere, really, to like consistently perform well in. And there's a bunch of reasons for this. The roster construction rules, we're going to get a little technical here for a second, are a mess. And they're a mess because they want to encourage certain behaviors from teams while also being a part of the global soccer market. If you're not...
Yeah, I've seen a basketball salary cap. I understand how weird this gets.
It's way weirder for MLS. And the reason is the NBA doesn't have a global market in basketball talent to compete with that operates completely separate from the NBA. Like, yes, I realize there is professional basketball elsewhere in the world, but it's the NBA beginning, middle, and end of the question. There's college basketball, but that's a feeder system for elite talent at best.
Right.
And similar for AAU and high school and stuff. So it's not the same at all, right? For Americans, the way we think of sports contracts is a player signs a deal and then they can be traded within their league, but they're kind of on the deal they're on until it's time to renegotiate a new contract. And that's kind of it. You get drafted by a specific team and you stay with that team until they either trade you or you're a free agent and so on and so forth. And salary caps make sure that players get a minimum share of revenue and a maximum share of revenue. And that's the model.
Just as a brief aside, there is a huge amount of antitrust law that just gets waived to make that possible for
Yep.
North American sports.
Yep. So it does not work like that anywhere else in the world. There are some exceptions in terms of how I'm about to describe it, but I'll use European soccer as the primary model because it's the easiest to understand and also just basically the best proxy. In Europe, if you want to change teams, you can do what's called a free transfer, which is equivalent to like the end of your contract and moving as a free agent in the American system, or you get a transfer fee. You don't get a player to player trade or a draft pick trade or something like that. One club pays another for the right to employ a given player. And when you do transfers, typically it's a three-way negotiation. So it's between the selling club, the buying club, and the player, and a new contract is typically involved. So you will see players transferred for a payment from the buying club to the selling club, as well as a new contract with a set wage level with incentives or whatever for the player, and it's all wrapped up into one number. There are no salary caps. There are what are called profit and sustainability rules or financial fair play, but those are much looser than a salary cap. And basically, you're only allowed to lose so much money on an operating basis over some specified window of time. So if you're trying to run a league with a salary cap, like an American sports league, and you're interfacing with the rest of the world that's running this separate cash trading system, basically, it's going to be funky. And so MLS is like that. It's very funky. It's players tend to move on very quickly when they get good. You tend to see a very specific type of player come into the league when they're a veteran. For instance, Lionel Messi, who this is another reason the game last night was such a big deal. The undisputed, I think at this point, greatest of all time soccer player, like in terms of his production on the field throughout his career at Barcelona, at Paris Saint-Germain, just killed it. Unbelievable accomplishments on the field for club teams, in the World Cup and Olympic and whatever for his national team. And in 2023, he came to the MLS. He came to MLS. And he came because he got an ownership stake in Inter Miami, which is a club that David Beckham is also an owner of. He got a slice of TV revenues directly from Apple. So like the league-wide TV deal, he got a cut of. I'm dead serious. This is a thing.
Sure.
Yes. Just on and on and on. Inter Miami has had a history of, since then, of basically getting a pass on how rules are enforced.
Is this MLS trutherism?
Not really, no. I mean,
Okay,
the enforcement, I mean, look, depends how big of a homer for the league office someone listening to this is going to be, but Miami has been able to get away with stuff that they very clearly should not have been able to get away with. And, I'm not talking about on-field refereeing, which is a whole nother story, but I mean, this is like, the league has done everything they can to make them into an all-star team, essentially, in a system that has what otherwise would be a quite tight salary cap. There are exceptions to the salary cap thing. Like there's a designated player system, for instance, where 3 players on your team have no salary cap associated with them. So you can pay them whatever you want. This system is sort of where Miami is alleged to have, broken some rules, or not had rules enforced against it, etc.
See, he keeps saying this is some unique thing, and I just keep hearing Los Angeles Lakers over and over again.
I don't do NBA, so
I gotta say, as shady athletics deals in Miami go, this is pretty tame. Like this wouldn't even be top 10 Miami Hurricanes.
Oh,
that's fair.
Good point.
Yeah, that's fair. Now, okay, all that aside, Inter Miami is just not very likable. They played the Seattle Sounders in...
The home of the Miami Heat has a likability problem, you say.
They played the Seattle Sounders in what's called Leagues Cup, which is basically a big tournament between all the American and Mexican teams. Not all, but a bunch of American and Mexican teams, whatever. And 2 American teams were in the final, Seattle and Miami. And Miami got run off the pitch. They got blasted. They lost 3-0, and multiple Miami players picked fights after the game. There was a spitting incident where one of Miami's players spat on one of Seattle's coaches, and it was just a travesty. It was really bad. And there were some discipline interventions by the league in after this and whatever. But so anyhow, that was their last game. They roll into town and we're on this crazy hot streak. We won 8 straight and we beat them 3-0 and we ran them off the pitch also. And it just made me really happy. It made me really happy that, like this team that has gotten me into soccer and gotten me really excited about it, was able to have this really complete team approach to things and embarrass this sort of avatar of some of the worst impulses of our current era, whether it's personality over substance, whether it's purchase price over actual achievement, whether it's, just this vibe that is just so Miami that I think anybody that's thought about the city of Miami for much time will appreciate is just don't like it.
It's the Hurricanes. It's the Hurricanes in soccer form.
Yeah, I think that's probably fair. And there's some great stuff about Miami, but it's just one of those places where like the vibes, I don't love the vibes. I don't love the vibes of Instagram influencers either. And that's what this is.
Listen, I've said this in the past, not here on the show, but just in various social interactions. That is just what Miami is. It is this villainous, awful city. But you need that. You need the good villain. It's why I say, even if
wait, you said good villain.
It's a great villain.
No.
Yes. Yes.
No.
That's why
2007 Miami Heat.
That's why I always say,
well, 2008.
Even if we're no longer in the same conference, Florida State will always play Miami because Miami is the Joker to our Batman. And you have to have them there.
Yes, to a point. But I will say in that, yes, having a foil that you can come into town, and also some more context here because Messi is the player he is. Every time Miami plays on the road, there are thousands of people that show up in Messi kits. Right? There was a lot of pink and black, the Inter Miami colors in our stadium last night. And so many people were so excited to see the GOAT play. And there was a point in about 35 minutes in to the first half where Messi was brought down in the area, which it wasn't a dive. It was a legitimate foul. And I've watched it back. Like he got fouled inside the penalty box. So that's a free kick. That's a penalty kick. You got a free shot, you versus the goalkeeper. These are scored at about a 90% rate across professional soccer. Like it's almost guaranteed you're getting a goal. And so Messi steps up to the dot and our keeper is this guy named Christian Kalina, who is not late in his career, but is sort of in the back third of his career, probably, or late in the second third of his career. And he was the MLS goalkeeper of the year last year, but he had a really hard time in the middle of this year. He took a head shot at one point during our early season, had been playing well, and then just fell off. And it got so bad that he actually got benched for a game, and our backup goalkeeper came in and played. And after that, he's come back and he's persevered and he's just killing it. He's doing great lately. He's leading the MLS and he's leading MLS in saves. He's played really well. And so Messi comes up and not only is it a free kick, but the way he takes it is he tries to do what's called a panenka, which instead of just shooting hard at the net, like a direct line, right? You're trying to be tricky and you're coming up and instead of a really hard kick, you're just chipping it. Right. And you're trying to get the goalkeeper to commit hard and then just chip it in straight down the middle, essentially. And Messi botched it and Kalina sniffed it out and saved it. And I have been at games in Cameron Indoor Stadium. I have been at bowl games. I have been at NFL games, NBA games, whatever. I have never had my ears ring as hard as they did after that save, because it was such a just like Kalina doing what he does well and this flashy like, oh, I'm going to make him look stupid. Oops. No, I'm the one that looks stupid. And then 2 minutes later, we went down and scored. And the guy that scored is we purchased him from a second division team in Israel. Just like, who knows where this kid came from. He ended up getting 2 goals, and later in the game, and this is, we'll close this out here because I'm sure people are sick of hearing me talk about soccer at this point. If you're still listening, we appreciate you. One of our best players is a guy named Wilf Zaha, who had a very, very strong career in the English Premier League, which is like the top league globally. But he got old eventually and sort of lost a step, and he got transferred to Turkey, and then he got transferred to France, and neither worked out, loaned to France. And then we picked him up, and he's super, super brash, super, super aggressive. He picks fights, basically, like not swinging fist fights, but he wants to make the other team mad. And he also kind of has gotten into it with Charlotte fans in a couple of instances. He's sort of lashed out at them on social media, whatever, because our fan base is stupid, and occasionally we'll be like, why isn't he the equivalent of Messi or something like that? And it's just like, dude, just let Wilf cook. So anyhow, this was just my favorite thing about the whole win is this kid who's 20 years old is on a 2-goal match, and Wilf should be the one taking the penalty kick. He was brought down, but he's like, no, like, you take it. Because this guy's career is like, he's in the later stages of his career. He's had the spotlight, whatever. He wants to give it to this kid who may, who knows, but like, hat tricks don't come around every day, right? Whereas penalty kicks, like, Wilf's going to score it, and it's just a PK. So, like, whatever. We're going to win the game regardless. Everyone knows what the score is. And so he gives it to this kid, and Toklamani buried it and had a hat trick. We beat Miami 3-0, and it was just, I've been levitating since. So that's why I'm hoarse, and that's why it sounds like I've been talking through a bunch of gravel this whole episode.
It also saved you.
The longest explanation for a one sentence question I've ever heard.
What do we get? About 15 minutes? I can do another 20 if we have to.
Yeah, give or take.
It also saved you from watching Duke.
Duke lost to Tulane on the football gridiron this past weekend. So yeah, thanks for bringing that up, Mr. Low-Tax Speedrun Enjoyer. Appreciate you, buddy.
Do people there actually call it the gridiron?
I wanted to make sure people understood the reference, sir.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, like, all those 4 people who are still listening at this point.
I'm meeting our audience where they are.
Oh, that's very good. That's very good.
That's the great thing about sports fandom, though. You go 10, 15, 20 years in the wilderness between these moments of elation and joy. And it's engaging, it's interesting, but it's frustrating as much as it is elevating.
Yeah.
Most of the time. And then you get these instances of payoff where, the storylines come together and human athletic achievement matches with the way you maybe hoped it would go or a way you weren't expecting it would go. And it's a pretty good feeling.
Yeah.
I can't relate.
Anyway, the Washington State University Cougars got rinsed 59-10 by North Texas this week.
Oof.
So screw everything.
Yeah. I actually, the first college football game I ever saw was at Washington State. Stanford came to town. My dad was a Stanford alum, so we drove down and saw it. And it was about 2 years before I went off to college. And I was looking down the field going, sure, give it a shot.
I saw that Wazoo had their coach poached by Wake Forest last year or the year before. That's, man, you guys got hosed in that Big Ten thing.
Yeah, we're not really a major conference football program anymore. It's kind of a bummer.
Yeah.
So it goes. We can cut that bit. We don't need to talk about it.
That was such a depressing way to end it.
I mean, I'm just trying to not be smug.
About what? What? Your eyes?
About Northeastern sports.
Oh. About the fact that, they don't come around that often. 2004, 2007, 2013, 2018, 2008, 2024, 2011. And that's ignoring the sport that should be cruise missiled.
Okay. Well...
So that was what?
Once
that's hockey.
I had to get it in there at least once.
Massachusetts sports. Once upon a time, Massachusetts sports were in the wilderness. You guys were
and then I was born
in the wilderness.
No one has fucking suffered like we've suffered.
The thing is, though, that's only true if you were either a fan of the sport that shall not be named or baseball. NBA, like, they had a pretty regular cadence. They went 22 years without winning one. Oh, no. Right?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. And then, like, I don't know, they did, 39 years for the Bruins. Well, they deserved it. But, yeah. I mean, like, I just can't relate.
Wait, are you not a Bruins guy?
No, I am, but, like, the ownership was a carload of morons for 40 years.
Oh.
And then suddenly they realized math existed and won.
Must be nice.
Yeah.
There is something just so freeing to giving yourself a outlet that you can focus on and apply real emotional investment to. And really, like, it does matter to me whether my soccer team is winning or losing, but it doesn't actually matter. And deep down, I know that, right? And I get to have this thing that I can invest my enthusiasm and my time in and build relationships around, and in some ways build my family around. Like my daughter loves going to games. And when she found out that my wife and I were going to go to this game last night without her, even though she was going to get to spend time with her abuelos, who she loves to spend time with, she was really unhappy about that. So it's not just about, I'm, a sports sicko watching something. This is an activity that is part of my family, right? And I think it's really healthy to have that around something that ultimately doesn't affect whether we can exercise certain rights or afford a basic standard of living or practice the religion we want to practice or associate with the people we want to associate with. And I think going too far the other way, where that was the only thing that mattered, would be deeply unhealthy as well. But having this balancing act between stuff that is pure entertainment, still emotionally invested, but it's entertainment, and higher stakes things that matter in life, like politics, a career, whatever. I think that's really healthy, and I think it's helped my mental health to have that.
Yeah, because I mean, like, I play the New England nonsense card sometimes, but like I miss that, and for context, I used to do a bunch of sports analytics stuff, and now I can't look at sports in a way that is not a bunch of random number generators. Like, the XKCD comic is real. And, like, I can't go back. And, like, I do honestly kind of miss that, right? Because, like, the one sport that managed to kind of rope me back in was basketball, because it turns out numbers cannot encapsulate somebody who can dunk from the foul line. But, like, I was a big baseball fan, and unfortunately then math existed. Then Bruins, then Celtics. And like, I've kind of rotated through all of them. And like, I do kind of miss it because it is fun. Even if nothing else, it gives you something to talk to with other people. And like, that's the main reason that I kind of still keep tabs, at least. Like, I don't watch much of it, but like, it's nice to be able to talk to people about it, even if they're, unlike you in most other ways, right? Like, it is nice to be able to at least talk about the baseball game. And like, that's helpful. That's good.
Let me tell you, if you like random number generators, you are all set for MLS. You are going to love MLS because it is as random as those numbers get, baby.
The curse was like, I literally saw that XKCD comic, and like within 2-3 months, I had stopped watching sports. It was that kind of like, oh man, that's just right. And like, I don't recommend it for other people, because like, that was like also the absolutely deranged era of like hockey Twitter, right? Like when the hockey, when you could actually have a conversation on Twitter that, didn't involve grok. But like, that era of sports fandom was something that I don't know if you can replicate today. And I kind of honestly miss it, just because like, it was really fun. You had people, and yes, some of them were Canadiens fans, and we don't like that.
Les habitants.
Allons-y. something sweater. But yeah, like it was fun. And I've kind of localized that a little more with the Boston stuff. But I don't know. It would be nice to be able to get back into that. And like sometime I keep being like, I kind of want to do that.
The revs are calling.
Yeah.
The revs are calling.
No.
Yep.
No.
Yep.
Because that involves giving money to the crafts.
Okay, well, you can be a Charlotte FC fan. How about that?
Fair. On the plus side, the scion of the Patriots dynasty got his ass whooped by Michelle.
Oh yeah,
we can all be happy about that.
Yeah, she took a hide there. Yeah.
I was disappointed. She only won by 40.
Yeah. All right. Well, on that note, we highly recommend you touch grass and find something to talk to your fellow humans about. One way to do that is sports, but there are others, of course, and we are here to support you in whatever way you find to be normal. For normal men in Charlotte, I'm George.
In DC, I'm Proctor.
In outer Florida, I'm low tax speedrun enjoyer.
And I'm Ed from Boston.